Hey, and welcome to another edition of What's Next with Joey McGuire, Robert Giovannetti with the head coach. And first of all, happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Looks like y'all had a nice time.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's great. Are you a big Easter candy guy? What's your favorite?
I'm a candy guy, period. So, Chris Level always says nay on candy corn, but, I'm a big candy corn guy.
I love
Halloween. And then, I'm a big candy guy.
I like the candy corn. It looks like a little pumpkin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, those are good, too.
But yesterday was really cool. We had all the players that wanted to come and a family and celebrated Easter and had lunch. And then we had an Easter egg hunt with all the little kids and some of the big kids were running around. It was a great event. There was probably over 400 people that were here in the building. And the other great thing was the parents got to see the Womble Football Center in the south end zone, and a lot of them, it was their first time to see the Womble Football Center fully opened and everything, so they were just blown away.
Hey, we obviously want to talk about the end of spring and everything else, but speaking of the Womble Football Center, you had a lot of letter winners in town this weekend that got to see it as well. How did that go?
Man, they were blown away. Like, it was like, so what's I think really cool for them is they know where everything was.
Right.
Like this is built on the old, the footprint of the south end zone and the old locker room, and then you can go over in the Womble Football Center, different parts of it. They know exactly where they're at. When they figure out where they're at, they're even more amazed. Like, this is what it is. And we had there was 133 guys that played in the Friday tournament, and there was other guys that didn't play. I don't know the exact total, but every one of them, I just said thank you, because this thing's built because of them and their hard work and everything they've done for Texas Tech. Mac Leftwich and I were driving around on a golf cart, and of course I'm heckling guys and everything, and he's I think all the new coaches are absolutely blown away how much Red Raiders love this university in Texas Tech. And it was so cool. The letterman, it was so for them to come back and talk about this building and how proud they are, was awesome.
Were there any of those guys you hadn't met, or somebody you were really glad you got a chance to meet, or did you know Jakeem Grant before? I know he was here, and
I'd met him one time for like that. I got to spend a little bit more time with him, and man, what a great guy.
Oh man.
There was the golf tournament is always fun because usually these guys pair up their teammates that played, and then all of a sudden there was a point on Friday that two foursomes paired up to become. There's a lot of bad golf going on out there, and so there was an eightsome.
Oh man,
the thing is though, it was most of the offensive line that all started together, like Lonnie Edwards and that group, and I'm like, you really aren't going to say a whole lot because these guys are still pretty big guys.
I say Lonnie Edwards is a pretty big boy.
And Taylor Potts was the quarterback with that group, and so the quarterback was there with them, and that was a fun group to follow around. They had a lot of fun together.
Yeah, it's just great to see those guys when they get back together. They get kind of cut loose a little bit with their old teammates, and that's always fun. And it looked like a good group. It wasn't just football guys here, but there's a lot of different sports here. But there was a lot of football guys here on Saturday too for the actual spring game.
Going back to the golf tournament too, Rabbit nearly hit a hole-in-one. But the other thing that was really great that the older guys appreciate is how many young guys are now coming back. And that's what you want to do. If you're going to really build this, you want to get them whenever they are 1 year out or 2 year out. And once they come once, they're just going to keep coming. So you had Rabbit that came back, and you had Mason Tharp out there, and you had Joseph Plunk, and you had Taj Brooks and Xavier White works for us as a coach, but he's out there in the middle of all of that. And so, I think the older guys really appreciated how many young guys are coming back and really want to be a part of it.
All right, take us through. So we had a power outage, fire underneath the campus, snow, rain, heat, and you got to finish it up on Saturday. Tell us a little bit about what you saw Saturday in the spring game.
Well, first of all, you named it all. I don't know what else we could have in March, April during spring. It would be crazy. Something different. I was excited. Number one, I was excited. We came out healthy.
Yeah.
We had J-Rod had a bruise on his big toe, and we had John Curry, who had a great spring and a great spring game, kind of banged up his shoulder, but nothing like he could play today right now. So that was number one. I was going into it like, hey, no matter what it looks like, let's just get out of here healthy. But I thought we had a great crowd. That was really fun. It was great for the new guys to experience it. And I was excited. I think both sides did some good things. I think people see how dominant our defensive line can be. I think people saw, especially in the live part, that our running backs are really physical and can get behind their pads. And it was really fun to see a guy like Leighton Stone come out and, like, this is his dream. I told him, I said, he was like, man, this is so cool, and I'm so excited. And I said, just wait till game one, man. Just wait till whenever this thing's packed and everybody's here and you come out and catch your first pass for real as a Red Raider. But I thought a lot of good things happened, and we'll build off of it, and they'll have a little break. They've got finals, and then they'll have a few weeks off, and then we'll be right back at it in June. Trying to get bigger, faster, stronger.
I don't want to give Leighton too much attention, but I wanted to add something. First of all, I used to, on the old South End Zone, he'd be running around when he was 9, 10 years old, 8, on game day when we watch, and he'd be running around. So he's obviously been a guy around. He thought on one of our sessions I called him soft. I didn't. I just said he's tougher than you might think. Boy, he is a guy you could see the benefit of being on campus early because he has got some size.
He has. I mean, he's literally put on 10 really good pounds. The thing that some of these young guys have really figured out, Tyson Turner is one of those guys. He didn't get to go, but he hooked on to Dre McCray. And it elevated how fast he grew and matured. Leighton Stone has hooked on to Coy Aiken. And what a great guy to hook onto. That they're very similar whenever it comes to just a tough guy, great hands, got really good speed, good length. They kind of look alike. Especially, it would be interesting by the time we get to the season if they both were in number 8, or now number 3 with Coy. If they were both in number 3, if you could tell them apart, because they kind of got that same hairdo and they're both really long and so he's gravitated to him, and it's shown how well he's done the entire spring.
Is it just too easy to say after watching Saturday and what you saw spring, this defensive line is going to be a problem for people?
No, it's going to be the depth, the size, the speed, and you don't have Duda Banks. Mm-hmm. Like, you think about that. Like, we're sitting here and we're seeing those guys out there, and then one of our best guys for the last 2 years didn't go through spring, and he's on track. He's in a great position, but then you add somebody that's 6'5", 295 pounds into the mix, and so I think he was the only defensive lineman that didn't go, but you add him into the mix, and it's going to be really tough. And they are only getting better. I mean, you think about by the time we get to week 1, how many more reps they'll get in this defense and the defensive call. Because you look out there and David Bailey has a really good spring game, and he's out there rushing the passer. And, man, that was practice number 4, practice number 2 of full pads, And so just putting that all together and building off of that, it's going to be really good.
How do you feel about with all the new guys that they kind of came together? It does seem like already kind of a tight-knit group.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with our support staff, Quentin Joyner and Jordan, and Antonio Huffman and Dave Martin, Blanchard's staff, Nance and Wes and Sean, how much time they spend with them, how much things that we try to do to create that teamwork. Bobby, our team chaplain, has been very instrumental. He does a lot of stuff with me and building the culture with our Wednesday culture meetings. And so I think when you put all that stuff together, and then you are in the best facility in the country, we have the best dietitians in the country. The food is absolutely incredible. And so things that you're like really make your life easy and happy, man, they check so many boxes. We check all the boxes, I think. And so when you're looking at that, it's like, man, you can really be happy where you're at.
And you throw in the mix now a lot of expectations on this group, and they seem to kind of embrace that a little bit.
Yeah, we hadn't even. That's one thing that we have really tried to. We'll start pushing those buttons as we get closer. Really, maybe going into game week, we'll start pushing a lot of buttons. But right now, we're really focused on getting better, how we can make each other better. And you can't shy away from it. Like, you can't sit here and look at this roster and say, well, yeah, they're not supposed to do this, or they're supposed to do this. You want that, and so it's always good, to push that. And so we'll be pushing those buttons. Right now, we're just really focusing on getting better. We've always talked about 1% every single day, but that's something that's been a big focus this spring.
Hey, I saw all your guys, all your coaches walking down the hall here. Everyone's in their office. Everyone's breaking down film. Is this a good time right now to sit back and say, okay, let's really assess where we are?
Yeah, right now where we're at, we're doing our exit meetings. We're making sure that they, leave here like people have heard. We set, when I say we, the athletic department set the highest GPA last semester. Right. We had over a 3.0 GPA as a team, and that's I want to say I've been here 6 semesters or 5 semesters, and 3 of our 5 we've had over a 3.0 GPA. Our lowest GPA since we've been here is a 2.97. 2.97. And so we're trying to get all that, and then now it's taking the spring and cutting it up. Every call, things that we have to get better at. A big emphasis will be our operation timing on offense. I think our tempos are good, but I think sometimes we just don't have a good rhythm, which causes some pre-snap penalties. So we're going to be talking about that. And, our assistant coaches, our position coaches are about to go on the road and recruit. And then our assistant coaches will be cutting everything up and getting ready for install in June, because we'll have 6 football schools that will be led by the coaches in June to get ready for camp.
It's just so crazy all that goes into it. As you kind of assess where we are, you've talked about a lot of positives. What gives you the most concern right now? Does anything you give you concern?
What I'm trying not to do, and we're trying not to do, is we're trying to take a deep breath and make sure that we assess this entire team and not, like, say, overreact a couple of things. Like, our 3 and probably 4B receivers, were banged up during the spring. Yep. And so you're like, easily can go in a panic, like, oh my gosh, and we can't do that. Because I feel great about those guys. And then the really easy one that's just fresh off is our kickers had a bad day. They were 1 for 6. And so you can easily go, oh my gosh, are we, you got to stay on track, because we need a combo guy more than we can say, hey, we need somebody that's going to the number 1 kicker. And so we got to assess that and feel good about that. But, right now, it's not that you don't want to add or what you're missing. It's just, how much better can we get as a team and keep pushing this, because there were so many good things that happened during the spring that you saw guys step up and get better.
Has your philosophy towards spring changed over the last couple of years of what you're trying to accomplish, what you're doing? I mean, it used to be a big deal across the country, a big spring game. Those days are kind of over. Yeah. From a coaching standpoint, have things changed or what you're trying to accomplish?
Not as much. Like year one, when you come in anywhere, I think spring has to be extremely physical. Our first year, we hit a lot. And it wasn't that we didn't have vets. They just needed to know who we were.
Right.
And this is the style of football Texas Tech's going to play. And so as you do that and guys start to understand that, we're still going to do inside run. We're going to get physical. We're going to get after each other. But you might not, if you did a rack of 6, you might do a rack of 3. and stuff like that, and modify it like that. We've always been, I think, good football teams have high football IQs. And so we're a big situational team, just like the other day. Mm-hmm. Some people were like probably going, God, I don't understand what's going on, or man, what is this situation? I thought that we did a good job. The announcer did a good job of kind of explaining, what was next. But we're still always going to be a big situational team. We'll do the same thing in camp. It's going to be a lot of situations that are going to show up in the season that we got to be great at.
Yeah, I think people, when they go to your practices, would be, if they haven't been, blown away how organized they are, and everything seems very professional.
Control chaos, man. It's like a lot of people, I'll never forget, Todd Dodge was the head coach at North Texas, and he came and watched us practice at Cedar Hill, and he was walking off, and he was probably patting me on the back a little bit because he wanted a couple of my players. But I had known Todd for a long time, and he said, Coach, there's not a lot of people that can practice this way. And I think we were more of a college-type practice, so we just kind of transitioned that. But there is a lot of stuff going on. Ain't a lot of standing around at practice. There's always movement, and we get a lot of reps. And a lot of people that first come in here are almost like, I always tell the new guys, hey, just find your position coach and go where he goes. Because a lot of times they're looking around, and I hate that more than anything. In fact, about practice number 3 or practice number 4 in our staff meeting, I say, coaches, man, we got to transition faster. Like we got to be moving, man. I don't like this slow transition, because the one thing that everybody has in common is time, and we want to be better than anybody else in the country of getting the most out of our time. And so that's one thing that we've always really tried to stress.
Yeah, your first practice sometimes looks like the first day of college when they're trying to find their classroom.
Yeah.
They're out there.
They're 100% right.
They're always supposed to go. Right. And what they don't want is you blowing the whistle and getting after them.
No doubt.
Out there. That's not a good place to be. Hey, as we kind of wrap up the spring, I was just thinking about, Grant McCaston, we honored him at the spring game.
Stud.
Elite 8, stud. Just won the women's tennis championship.
So fired up for them.
Going to win softball.
Yes.
12 title.
Big series win this weekend.
Huge.
It's huge.
You kind of sense the people starting to notice, hey, there's something happening out there in West Texas.
Yeah, a lot of momentum. That we need to finish the spring sports with and carry it over into the fall. And it's fun and it's exciting. I know that Red Raiders are really excited about it, and they deserve it. That's one thing. I was talking to Mac about, and people have heard me say this, and it's I probably think about this every day whenever I start thinking about what we want to do. But the more and more you're around Texas Tech, and the more and more you're around Red Raiders, it makes you want to win more for them because of how passionate they are and how much they really care about this stuff. And you're like, hey, this fan base deserves things like this that are going on. And so we want to carry that momentum into the fall.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a great time to be here. And as we wrap up this weekend, we've got the draft. You mentioned a lot of those guys, and hopefully a few of those guys hear their names this weekend.
Yeah, I think, I expect Taj and Caleb Rogers, Jalen Conyer, Josh Kelly. Mason Tharp has had some really good interviews with some players, with some teams. So I think there's going to be a decent number that will get their name called, and that's a dream. I can't wait. I'll watch every second of it, and I'll be texting, at the end of each day or at the end of each round, like, hey, what are you hearing? How can I help? Who can I talk to? Whenever I'll never forget whenever Tyree, and it's not that I helped him at all. Whenever it comes to this moment in the draft, I do think that we helped him push his draft stock up with him coming back. But I talked to a couple of guys with the Raiders right before they picked him. And I was like, guys, y'all are not going to miss on this guy. And he had a good year last year because he was finally healthy. That first year he was still coming back from that injury. And I think he's only going to keep getting better. So trying to make some of those calls to help those guys out.
What's better, being there in person? I guess it is, because probably means you got a guy going high, right?
Yeah, if you're there, man, you're probably going to get a number 1 draft pick, and that's always good for the school. And there's a really good chance. I mean, there's some guys on this team that I don't know where it is next year, but there's a really good chance that we're there.
You got a few as you looking at least past the eye test.
No doubt.
No doubt. All right. Well, enjoy your week of going through film and breaking down, and congratulations on getting through another spring football. We've got a lot of tech sports here in the last couple weeks, and we'll probably see you there rooting on the Red Raiders.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch softball this weekend. That's going to be a good series.
Yeah, it's going to be a good series. All right. For Joey McGuire, I'm Robert Giovannetti. Wreck 'em.